Hey, it's episode 11 of Life's a Garden. Welcome back to Life's a Garden. Today's guest is an aspiring author. He is probably the biggest gamer friend I have, and also one of my oldest friends. Welcome, Eric Wolf.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
I had a bunch of things I was trying to, I was going to say that you work with kids, and...
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't... That's right.
Just working with the kiddos.
I couldn't remember... I knew that, but I know you've changed a couple... it's usually always the same thing.
Yeah.
As far as,
Well, the going idea now is that I want to be like a guidance counselor in the elementary schools versus like what I'm doing now, which is basically being like a therapist.
Right.
Or a babysitter, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So I remember for a long time, you were very, staunch on wanting to have kids.
Yeah.
Has this changed your mind at all?
No, that's a really good question, and, a real question, because... I really had this idea of just, having kids, and it was going to be this amazing thing, I always talked about how I wanted a daughter, and she'd just be this beautiful little girl, she'd be a little princess, But, man, I work with a lot of boys, and I'm just like, okay, now I have to have a girl, because if I have a boy...
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of that... I feel like a lot of misbehaviors come from a mix of... Obviously, there's, a mental aspect where, maybe you have some kind of mental illness that causes you to... be disruptive or whatever, but I think definitely a lot of it has to come from your environment.
There's some behaviors that really get under your skin, I got a kid that regularly hits me if I take anything out of his hands or anything, and he's 6 and he says fuck you to me, and when that happens, you just want to be like, dude, no. I'm a 26-year-old man, you're not going to talk to me like that.
You got to feel what's that home life like?
Yeah, exactly. And
what's he seen? What's he had to have seen and experienced some stuff that not a lot of people would want for a kid.
Well, this kiddo, he does have a hard home life. He's got, he's got siblings that are kind of tough and stuff too. And honestly, a lot of parents just do their best. It's easy for me to judge a parent because I've had the developmental psychology background and I kind of know a lot about it, but people who become parents and don't necessarily have that background, they don't realize that. I mean, honestly, the secret to parenting is consistency. If you tell a kid that you're not gonna, or that they can't do something, even if it's something trivial and stupid, you can't go back on it. It doesn't matter how dumb it is. If you're at walking by the river and they find a rock and they want to take it, and you think to your mind, we have enough rocks. No. And then they start throwing a fit. People really have the tendency to just be this isn't worth it. Fine, you can have it. And what they don't realize is that now they've just rewarded that behavior, that throwing a fit. And so now the kid is okay, well, if I want something and they say no, this is what I have to do. And a lot of parents who give in once, they'll give in again and again, and the more that it happens, the more they want to give in because they just don't want to deal with it. And that's why I tell people, if you go to the store and you're in the grocery department and there's a kid that's screaming and crying, those are the good parents because they've made it all the way from the toy section all the way to the grocery store and haven't given in yet,
Right, yeah, it's the temper tantrum effect where if you reward bad behavior, they're going to think, okay, every time I do this, I'm going to get rewarded.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, we talked about it just even in high school psychology with the conditioning stuff,
It's pretty obvious, which is why it seems so odd that parents still just allow that. And it's I think it just comes down to parents having very little patience. And
sometimes it's patience and sometimes it's not necessarily just wanting to put in that work, but I wouldn't even necessarily say that all the time. The kids that I work with, I would go as far to say as I feel like every single one of them has good parents. They're just parents they're just people that haven't been given the secrets, you know.
Sure.
And if you don't necessarily know how to deal with a kid, then you're going to deal with them the way that you would want to be dealt with. And dealing with kids is not like dealing with adults, you know, just because of the way that their mind is.
So, okay, here's something that I've always heard. Correct me if I am wrong, or if this is something that's just not true. Because I've definitely heard this. It goes that same effect goes all the way to the crib. Like, if a child's crying in the room, and every time they cry, you always are there for it to... I mean, obviously you want to check to make sure the kid's okay, but, like, if it's just crying because it wants attention, then that can have longer effects later on down the road. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely walking a line there. It's been a little while since I took... you know, like my most recent developmental psychology class, so I'm not going to sit here and like tell you that what I say here is the professional view or anything like that. But you know, you don't want to be inconsistent about it, because then when you do go to like help them out, if you're inconsistent, then the times that you do come, they're going to really milk it, because they're like, okay, this is my time. You know, so it's kind of like what you want to do is if they're crying and stuff, you kind of do want to come every time, but you just don't want to make a big deal about it, you know? Like, if they're crying, when it starts off, like, they're probably hungry, so go, satiate their need, and then go again, you know? But, like, you just don't overdo it.
Sure. That makes sense. I mean, obviously, if they're hungry or... I don't know, though.
That kind of just really only applies to, like, the first year. You know, once they start having, like, the complex thinking enough to... you know, like, kind of make relationships between what they do and what they get from doing those things, like, that's when you got to start kind of being a little bit more careful.
Right.
You know, but I don't know if you've ever heard of, I think it's Mary Ainsworth that did it. It's like, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Stranger Experiment or something like that. But what they do is they take a kid, like, that's, like, toddler aged. This is kind of how you... determine what kind of parenting style, what kind of attachment style between the child and the parent that you have. So what you do is you take the kid and the parent, the guardian, and you put them in a room together. And first, it's kind of like a mysterious new environment, so they stay close to the caregiver. But once they see that the caregiver's relaxed and everything's fine, they kind of start to like explore, you know. And in this room, they have like toys and stuff, and eventually they'll go over to the toys. It doesn't take too long. And then what'll happen is they'll bring in a stranger, and so the kid will naturally, you know, maybe grab one of the toys or something, but they'll come closer to the caregiver for that comfort. And then, you know, the parent and the stranger will talk for a little bit, and then the parent will get up and will leave the room with only the stranger. And then the kid, like, basically every time will start throwing a fit. You know, I mean, we're talking young kids here. You know, we're like, you know, they are intimidated now because they're just with this stranger. And they'll have the stranger come and try to, like, comfort the kid. And it really won't work because that's not what they want. Right. You know, that's the stimulus that is intimidating them is not going to comfort them.
And that must get drawn a little bit from fear, too, huh?
Yeah, you know, just the natural, like a natural instinct thing. Yeah. You know, I mean, if you think about humans as living in caves, because that's where we're still supposed to be. Right. You know, if you have a stranger coming into your cave and you're all alone, you don't have your parents around, like, you're probably going to get, you know, stolen or...
anxious, at least.
Yeah, you know, like something bad might happen.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know, I see what you're saying. So you're scared. But, like, the big thing from the experiment is that after the stranger... or after it's just the kid and the stranger, what they'll do is they'll have the parent come back in. And then the most interesting thing is how the child reacts to the parent returning. And there's 4 attachment styles. So there's secure, which is like, you know, good, everything's good. So the kid will go running up to the parent will comfort the kid, they'll calm down, and then they'll just go back to exploring and playing. Especially if the stranger leaves again. You know, but they'll calm down quickly. You know, and then you have the other ones. You have like the anxious ones that, you know, they'll come running back to the parent, and the parent will comfort them, but they won't be able to comfort them. Like, they'll just cry and cry and cry, and it takes a really long time to chill them out. And that's the ones that, you know, are the ones that were inconsistent about coming to their kids when they needed comfort beforehand, like before this experiment, because now they're just like, you know, they're getting that comfort and they're milking it because they're getting it, you know, They have to milk it. You get the kids that there's sometimes where they just turn away from the parent. And those are the really bad attachments. You know, that's like basically like, oh, cool, my caregiver's back. I'm still not comfortable because I'm not comfortable with them either. Right. You know, or the ones that just kind of seem confused and they don't really know what to do. Right. You know, so I don't, just kind of like a funny thing to think, like to see.
I
Not
did
funny, haha, but
right. I forgot to mention. Yeah, you have a degree in psychology.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I should have put that in there. I couldn't remember. You're working.
it's whatever.
You're working on the masters.
I'm
right?
working on my master's.
Yeah.
I've got 45 credits. I could graduate right now, but I wasn't because I was thinking about being a therapist. But I'm kind of thinking of going another way. So like, basically, I have my master's. I just haven't actually like gotten the paper commemorating it.
Okay.
Right
on.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That would have been a nice little thing to add to the resume on the intro. But I'll put it in the description.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool. Aspiring author.
I did say author, so let's talk about the book.
Yeah.
The book that hasn't come out. So I need public pressure from all 30 viewers. We're gonna blow this up though. This podcast is blowing up. We're only into the double digits just recently, so it's getting bigger. Now I need public pressure. Pressure this motherfucker to start getting this book out because I know the book. I've been along for the ride for how long?
It's been 8 years at this point.
In the
Can you
making.
believe that?
Yeah. So go ahead. Don't like. Obviously,
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil a storyline or anything.
but like give it a little synopsis.
Yeah, so it's a fantasy series of novels. It's with 7 of them lined up, and I have like the world building stuff figured out, and like the mythos and everything. It's gods and magic, of course. But the big idea with it is that I wanted to make a fantasy novel that didn't rely on like the most common tropes, which to me mostly is like the fantasy monsters thing. Particularly dragons. Not because I don't think that dragons are cool, because
It's just kind of
they're pretty
overdone.
cool. It's just, you think about Aragon is about dragons. Song of Ice and Fire is about dragons. Basically the main. I don't really know a Song of Ice and Fire. Don't crucify me, but it's from what I understand, like Daenerys has dragon blood. And
Yeah.
she's kind of like the main character from what I understand.
Yeah, there's dragons. So
It's basically
It's a big. Dragons are a big part of it.
Yeah, a big part of it.
And Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Even Harry Potter. It's not really about dragons, but it has them.
They
And
exist
even
in
when
that world.
Yeah, even when it doesn't have dragons, still, book 1 has unicorns and.
Well, there's
you could do it in every single
elves,
one. The basilisk, the knight, the elves, the house elves.
But this goes into giants and all kinds of things, and that crosses all those spans of those different. You got the orcs and just like you said, creatures. Yeah,
and I think that stuff is really cool. It all comes from Tolkien. The stuff that like previous to Tolkien, there was Greek mythology and there was like Beowulf. Which. It was like it was an epic poem, so it was kind of more along the lines of mythology. It was folklore. Nobody believed in it, but it kind of like had the same aspect of mythology. And then Tolkien kind of came along during the same time as like C.S. Lewis. Those guys were actually friends. They had a little like writers guild that they would do. Like Lovecraft was kind of around that time. I think he was a little after, but like previous to that, like that's what fantasy, like there was no real fantasy writing, and then Tolkien came and made The Hobbit and made Lord of the Rings, and like every single thing that you have read afterwards that's in the fantasy genre is because of Tolkien.
Right.
So that's why like monsters and stuff like that are so prolific. And I'm not trying to judge that by any means, but the idea is that I didn't really want to do that exactly. I still have a lot of like very fantasy things, like I have the spellcasters with like a hard magic system that I'm kind of trying to rewrite a little bit to make it a little bit more like lined out a little bit,
Sure.
having like free magic where it's just like, a person can either light up a room or, blow up an entire city it lends you to just being like, well, why didn't they just blow up the city? Like,
right.
problem solved, so you got to kind of constrain it a little bit better than that. But I have the magic system. Obviously, I have gods. Which I don't even know if you know this or not, but that wasn't even a plan.
Really?
When I first started writing that, remember,
That's one of my favorite parts about it.
Oh, absolutely. But, when we were working at McDonald's and then I took you, we went back to my house after closing and I read you that stuff, at that point, I really didn't have a whole lot of plans for gods. It was actually watching Immortals.
Really?
Yeah. that
Great
like, made
movie.
me be like, dude, gods are so cool. Like, I
Yeah.
gotta have them in the book. You know?
Well, it's like, other than Greek mythology, you really don't see in much other like storylines where there's gods and demigods.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
just
you have the
humans.
other mythologies as far as
Right, but other than mythology, I should say, you haven't
yeah.
really seen too many like stories being driven around that theme, other than stories about Greek mythology.
Yeah.
or
even
any
then the
mythology.
monsters are pretty prolific. You know, usually they're
Sure.
not quite as lined out. You know, I mean, but like Theseus went to go fight the Minotaur, which is a monster. I think it was Theseus that also fought like like a giant boar monster, and Hercules fought one of those too. And
Right, but it's not like, like I said, there's not original novels that are based on,
Yeah.
that, like gods
Yeah.
being like, I'm sure there are some, but not to like the extent that you've gone to, from what I know.
yeah, I mean, there are some. There's like Neil Gaiman does it and stuff.
Okay.
I think I'm saying that right. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea was to sort of like take the monsters out, not because I don't like them, but just because, it's been done, it's being done, it will always be done. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had this idea either, but it was supposed to it's more about like intrigue, which is, like the, like the Game of Houses kind of thing, kingdoms and stuff like that. I mean, the good guys essentially are Sithcon Crass. Which, is a country that's born out of originally being a city-state with a hero king that fought against the Empire and made the kingdom city of Crassia into the big kingdom city of Sithcon Crass, or the big kingdom of Sithcon Crass. And then, of course, the other empire, like the empire of Moxax, is like the remnants of that empire after the hero king kind of pushed everything back. And a lot of the story deals with, I mean, it's generations and generations past, but there's still bad blood there, naturally. So, yeah, I mean, like, as far as these guys, I know you told me to kind of, like, talk about it a little bit, and instead we just talked about Tolkien the whole time.
Well, no, you're good. I just want just give the overarch.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about the gods and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
But what's cool is the majority of the story is based on the humans and the demigods.
Yeah.
Not the gods.
The demigods are very much like what it's about. The first book is about a human who has been bestowed a power by by like a dark sorcerer. He's not necessarily like the Dark Lord archetype where he just sits on his throne and is evil, and then somebody is like, okay, we can't have that in the world anymore, like Sauron style. Like he's gonna. The idea is that he's more active, but I mean, regardless, he's not active. He's dead in the first book. But you're following this guy who got this power to shadow bend, and basically like disappear and travel invisibly through the air.
Nightcrawler style.
Yeah, basically. That's kind of how we imagined it looking, if like in our heads. But and he, you just kind of find out about him, and he. At first, you don't necessarily know if he's the good guy, because the first chapter kind of introduces him as maybe being the bad guy, because you see 3 soldiers walking through the mountains, and then he appears out of nowhere and kills them. And it's funny, I had a beta reader, and when you go into the next chapter, you find out that he's the main character, and this beta reader, he was kind of like, oh, we're actually following this guy? Like, I thought he was the bad guy, and I love that, because you know his story. And you know that, he's got secrets, but you find out that he lives in this cabin alone in the mountains with this little girl, whose name is Mia, and his name is Cole. And he, it's mysterious. Mia doesn't call him dad, so it's pretty clear that they're not that. Maybe they're brother and sister. No idea. But she's 9, he's 26, so, it's not like anything like that's going on. But, and she starts asking him, like, why do we have to hide in the mountains? Why is this like
Well, I don't want you to go too much into the story.
No, I'm really not going to, but...
I want it to be something that people are like, oh, that does sound like something I want to read. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I should more talk about, like, the overarching storyline, which really is about, there's 2 separate pantheons of gods, which are the overhumans. I very rarely even refer to them as gods, just to sort of be a little different about it. You know, but you have the overhumans, and then you have the underhumans. And the underhumans are more like these sort of like primordial beings that, you know, really like, you know, they push the rivers and they raise the land, you know, whereas the overhumans are more like the Greek gods, where they just kind of oversee everything, you know, from their floating island in the sky. And as it kind of goes along, there's this guy, and his name is Genza, and you find out that he actually kind of supports the underhumans who feel like the overhumans just kind of like are just like, you know, gross, go do Earth things and stay away from us, stay away from our island in the sky, we're great, you're not. And the story just kind of follows along with him as he, you know, has these like dark machinations to basically raise his power, because he wants to destroy the overhumans and take over. So it starts off with being very like intriguey between the Empire and the Kingdom, and then the other countries in the continent that each have their little roles in this rivalry. But you start to find out that this one guy is actually like using all of that to really like have this cosmic battle with the gods. And at the same time, there's the omnipresent threat of the void, which you know, as the universe, you know, as the universe within the chaotic void becomes more disorderly, with the universal indicator being the world that the continent is on. The continent's Listicalia, which is the name of the series as well. The continent of Listicalia and the world at large is kind of the universal indicator. So the void is not conscious, but it can feel, basically, the chaoticness on the world, and as it becomes more and more like that, it becomes unstable. And so the overhumans know about this, and they know that if things get too chaotic, then the void will just collapse. It'll basically just hit the reset button.
It's basically Ragnarok.
You know, and it'll just destroy everything, and then maybe it'll start over, even though, you know, the universe existing is an accident.
I like that, because that keeps the gods in check, where they have to, you know, they really have to keep an eye on the things they oversee and make sure balance is stayed, because then they can die.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, even the gods are driven by like the fear of mortality, you know, as anything is, you know. So like their primary concern is that they don't want the void to collapse. Everything else is secondary to that. And it really keeps, because, you know, like in literature, especially with literal gods in it, you really want to avoid what's called a deus ex machina, and it's that word, that phrase, as I'm sure most anybody knows, is Latin, and it means God from the machine. And it's the idea of like you're having a story, and you're having like this, you know, like the main characters are in dire straits, and it's horrible, and you're sitting there and you're reading, you're like, oh my god, how are they going to get out of it? And then like all of a sudden a god appears from nowhere and kills the bad guy, and then they're like, oh cool, thanks, you know, actual god, and then everything's fine. And you kind of look at it and you just go, what? You know, like you want the main characters to do things.
Right.
So it's actually funny, because Gandalf is really he's kind of like the archetype of the Deus Ex Machina character, you know.
Really?
You have like, you know, the Fellowship, and they're trapped by like the Goblin King, you know, and then Gandalf like shows up out of nowhere and does the flash with his staff, and then they get out, you know. And he does that several times. He does it in The Hobbit, he does it in Lord of the Rings several times, you know. And it's just kind of like, you know, you get this sense that like, man, like if they didn't have Gandalf, like this would not be going anywhere.
Right.
And Gandalf is a god, so I mean,
right.
You know, you kind of are like, okay, well, it's fine, but you know, it gets frustrating after a while. So the whole thing with the void is really is cool, in my opinion, because it keeps the gods in check. Because if they start to interfere too much with human stuff, you know, with the Empire having their own patron god, which I previously named Archinus, but his name is now Astorion. They had, you know, he wants the Empire to do well because he is their patron. And then you have Sithcon Crass, and their patron is Aclius, the god of war. and he wants them to do good. But that doesn't mean that Aclius, the god of war, can't just come down and be like, all right, come on, warriors, like, let's go kill the Empire.
Because that would bring in balance.
Yeah, because then the people of the Empire would be upset, and then they would want to rage against the gods. And so if we have, like, the gods fighting the people, that's one of the biggest things that can destabilize the Void the fastest. So it's not saying that the gods can't interfere, they just have to be really, really careful.
And then you have this one guy who's essentially trying to wage war against the gods, not knowing about the Void, I'm assuming, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would just say caring more about caring more about his agenda.
Okay.
And thinking that he can cut it close enough to making it like the Void might collapse, but cutting it close enough that it won't.
Okay. And you said it's a 7-book series.
Yeah.
Now, from what I know, I don't know if this changed, you have, like, pretty much the overarching story for each one. Like, you kind of know the direction.
Yeah, each book is a contained storyline, but it follows, like, they each other contain storylines. So, like, as you know, each book has a different main character.
Yes.
And that's not to say that it's a completely different story. Like, it's like each time it changes main characters, you've already met the person that the next book is going to be about. So it's not so much that the series is about one guy. I was talking about Cole and Mia.
And the other characters are still...
Yeah, they're still there. But it's not so much like the book is about one guy in particular or one girl or whatever. It's about a group of people.
Right.
And it kind of starts off with being about, the people in Sithcon Crass, but then it as the central storyline being the thing with the gods, is starting to unravel, or is starting to reveal itself. The scope of the group of characters that we're focusing on begins to become bigger.
Sure.
So you're not focusing so much on Sithcon Crass as it moves along. Now you're kind of expanding out to the whole continent.
I know how the story goes, and it's great. I mean, I know you're going to make some adjustments here and there from what my last rendition that I was...
Yeah,
but
I've kept you up to date on the stuff that I'm changing.
Right. See, now, what needs to happen next is it needs to get done.
Yeah, I need to, sit in front of a keyboard.
Yeah.
I need to take my hands, I need to touch that keyboard.
Okay, and I agree with the idea that you want to have the first 2 done. Right?
Yeah. Before I start to, I'm going to go the self-publishing route.
Right, and
there's not about the money. It's just about making a story that I like, that's cool, and then putting it somewhere where if other people are interested in looking at it, then they can.
Right, that's how I feel about music.
Exactly.
Now, and we live in a time where self-publishing and for us, we're going to self-produce and record.
Producing, basically.
So
I was just going to say publishing too, whatever.
But but you kind of can. You can make a site on, an Audible book or whatever sites you can buy books on.
Yeah.
And distribute it yourself. And all it takes is, advertising and you got to do some legwork. And I'm sure there's other, I know there's online editors. There's online, I'm sure you got to kind of be careful not to lose your work. You want to get it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's nice, and this works for you doing the music thing as well, or even doing this with the podcast, the way that the laws work here in the States is that as soon as you create anything, you have the rights to it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, I'm assuming that you have to have a way of proving that you made it first, obviously. I mean, it's really easy with this because, it's your face, music, it's your voice.
It gets time-stamped. For this, it gets time-stamped on YouTube.
Yeah.
And on any of the podcast sites once I publish it. But with recordings and stuff, I suppose it'd be the same thing. And once you distribute it, there's a timestamp on when you distributed it. When you first.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just, I've been using Google Docs. I was using Microsoft Office, but in the same way that Adobe and stuff did, they switched to being subscription based, and that's something that I could talk about probably for a whole nother hour, but I'm not going to. I think everybody feels the same way about it, about this making software subscription based.
Yeah. Or games or anything like that.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
You know. But, you know, so I switched to Google Docs. And the thing that's nice about that is that, yeah, as soon as you create something, there's a date. You know, it has the date that you did all of your edits and everything like that. So, I mean, it's really easy. You can't really get your original work stolen.
Right.
Per se. At least not literally. People can take your ideas.
Oh, for sure. I just, like I said, I think now, you know, we're living in a time where it's just so easy to make yourself a self-made person.
Right.
And like you said, even if it doesn't come at the cost of, you know, making money at it.
Yeah.
I've never really, maybe when I was younger, like, wanted to make music for fame and fortune.
Yeah, and giant money.
But honestly, like, we're playing a show tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
where's that at?
It's down at the Tap Inn on.
Oh, cool.
You know where that's at.
Yeah,
it's an outdoor show.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. Going on at 6. So, this will be published tomorrow. So, I mean, it'll still be relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll be going on, and that's all I really want out of music is just to, you know, we've created this thing together, and for people to hear it. That's enough for me. Like, to have even you know, 20 people. That's like 20 more people that heard something we created.
Yeah. No, and you know, like, I really think that's like, it feels like a higher stage of maturity for somebody who is an artist. You know, I mean, yeah, you were saying like when you were a kid, you wanted to, like, make music, and you wanted to play Madison Square Garden, you wanted everyone to know your name, and you know, and some people don't leave that, and I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But, like, are you really making it for the right reasons? If you're talking about art here, you know, like, you should want to make it because, like, it makes you feel good, or because it's therapeutic, or because, I mean, at least just do it because it's cool.
Or fun.
You know? I mean,
or enjoyable.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, I make music too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I play guitar, but and I write songs, and I'm certainly not as good as you or Justin at writing songs. which, yeah, I mean, I guess that's really,
up for
like,
interpretation.
objective thing to say, but, you know, I mean, it's not really about that. You know, I don't want to make the best, most radio friendly or coolest song ever. Like, when I have something to say and I also want to play my guitar, I just put them together and it makes me feel good.
Yeah, as long as it's something you're gaining out of it.
Yeah.
And
now, then, like, yeah, if you can share it with other people, it's all the better. You know, that's icing on the cake.
And on an even more top level, if you do so happen to make money doing it, hey, that's an added benefit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not saying like now I don't want that.
Right, of
like,
course.
that'd be stupid, you know, or anything like that.
But that's what makes it so good is the fact that you're not doing it for that.
Yeah.
You're doing it for yourself and for just the enjoyment and love of doing it. And so it usually reflects in the art that you're making, any kind of art. And so then hopefully it's if it is good enough to, you know, sell millions of whatever it is book, music, movies, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, then that's something to just be proud of.
Sure.
You know.
Exactly. It means other people really, really like it, and it just shows to your craft, like that what you did was good.
Yeah.
And yes, and then of course you can reap the benefits of that.
But expecting that or having that being the end goal, I mean, mainly I think what it does is it sets you up for disappointment.
Yes.
It can even further set you up for failure if you just decide, like, to not have a plan B. Sorry, Johnny Hawkins of Nothing More, who says don't have a plan B. I mean, he won a Grammy, so...
Right. But I know what you're saying. Like, I 100% agree. I mean, unless you're either going to be a motivated, driven person, and if that's your plan is just to do that, then that's how you're going to be. But that's not because... That's just because you're a motivated person.
Right.
Now,
you should still have a fallback.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would agree. And it's like, I think that's more of it, too. It's like, you don't want to expect anything, but if it happens, it's that much better.
Just like if that's your end goal, you know, if you're a music person and your end goal is Madison Square Garden or nothing, you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment, you know.
Right.
And then and I feel like you're just not necessarily doing it for the right reasons.
I don't believe in that secret bullshit.
Huh?
That book, The Secret.
Oh,
I don't believe in that shit. Or if you write it down, then it becomes true.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have cool stories like that.
Oh, sure.
You know, you have like Jim Carrey. Like, he was a poor man, and then he took a check and he wrote it. He wrote it to himself. He wrote
$1 million
himself a check for $1 million, and he kept it in his wallet. And then he kept it all this time, and then he became this huge actor, and then he was able to cash his $1 million check. And that's a really cool story. But you got to think, we're talking about Jim Carrey here,
right?
You know, for every Jim Carrey that happens, there's probably a million people with $1 million checks in their wallet that never get to cash that. You don't hear about those people, but of course you don't. But, like, there's plenty of artists that they just don't get there. And sometimes they don't even, like, they will get there, but they won't get there in their life. I mean, you think about somebody like H.P. Lovecraft, who's a writer back in the 30s. I mean, everybody knows who he is. He made the Cthulhu mythos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, you could basically name to me any piece of horror literature, and I could probably, if I know what it is, I could probably tell you the Lovecraft inspiration from it. Well, I mean, one of the biggest ones that you may not necessarily know, unless if you really know Lovecraft, is It by Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
Like Pennywise is very much a Lovecraftian monster, because he comes from, like, he's like this interdimensional thing that sort of like comes from deep space and then comes to Earth and kind of just warps reality around him and warps himself based on, you know, who he's around, and just sort of feeds on fear and doesn't really seem to understand what he's doing. He just sort of feeds on it. It's what he wants. But you don't even necessarily know what his motive is. He's just like this mysterious thing from outer space. And then you really get deep with it. Like, I'm sure you saw in the new one, not the newest one, but you know, it chapter 1.
You're talking about like the remake?
Yeah, the one where he bites Georgie's arm off.
Sure, yeah.
You know, the remake, but not the most recent one.
Right.
But you remember, like, when he's holding the girl, and he's getting ready to, like, eat her, and his mouth is getting all huge, and then you see those 3 lights in there, those dead lights, yeah. You know, and that's like this like cosmic thing that causes insanity. Like, I don't know a whole lot about the It mythos. I know that it spans a couple different books in Stephen King's thing, but like very much like this thing where the human mind can't even handle looking at something, and if it does, it just becomes insane because it can't handle it. I mean, you don't get more Lovecraftian than that, you know. But the reason why I bring up H.P. Lovecraft is because, like I said, it is prolific. Everybody knows who Cthulhu is.
Sure.
You know, and you can find his influence in almost any horror literature in some small way. Lovecraft wrote for magazines in his time, and he really did not become famous until he died. You know, he died thinking that his work was essentially going to go nowhere. And now it's studied, it's revered. I mean, he made a whole mythos, you know, of like, you have like the great old ones, which is like what Cthulhu is. And Cthulhu lives in the bottom of the ocean, and he's only a priest of like these, of what are called the outer gods, which are like just like these beings that exist in reality, outside of reality. Like, you can't understand them. The human mind cannot understand them, and that's why we see them as like these like gross tentacle monster things, is because that's not what they really look like. It's just that our brain is looking at it and just going like, I don't even know what to do with that. You know, and so it just sort of like manifests like that. But even then, like, that's just the outer gods just sort of manifesting randomly in the universe. You know, and it goes all the way up to the outer god whose name is Azathoth. And our reality is just a dream that Azathoth is happening. And so there's these other gods that are dancing around him, and they're playing these flutes to try to keep him asleep, because as soon as he awakens, the reality's gone. All the gods die. Everyone dies. Everyone dies. It's over. Because Azathoth is awake now. The only things that live are maybe like some of the other outer gods. You know, but he's like basically the most powerful one. You know, so like, it's this huge thing. He put a ton of work into it. And he died thinking that he would never become famous. You know. So but that's the thing. We just talked about, he didn't just decide to be done. I mean, you can buy books that are like this thick of Lovecraftian stories and
Sure.
stuff. This dude did not stop.
Well, and there's definitely those stories too, where like you become famous after death.
Yeah,
more famous
posthumously.
after death.
Yeah.
That, like, I'm sure Dante's Inferno is like a very similar thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that was never as popular
I mean, I'm sure. In
in his life.
it wasn't being taught in high schools, you know.
Right. Yeah, of course. With so many things.
Yeah. I mean, painters are a big one for that.
Yeah, the value increases.
I mean, you could even
tremendously.
say like Nirvana, you know.
See, I
Everybody
thought that,
knew-
but at the
everybody
same
knew
time,
it, but
Smells Like Teen Spirit was the biggest song of the 90s.
Right.
And they were still around at certain points in that.
right.
I
I mean, I think that it was really big, but I think after he killed himself.
I mean,
and
you
then
could say that
everything-
about
Boom.
like Marley's dead, right?
Bob Marley.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well,
I'm not like up on.
you can definitely say that about Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
You could say that about there's a lot of artists
Tons.
who become certainly more famous after death. Or even if they're not more famous, it's just like their imagery.
Yeah.
Even if it's not their music, it's their image.
So like you're basically saying that like dying, especially suicide, is something that really like garners a lot of interest in your creation.
I mean,
You heard it here first. Aspiring artists.
just wait. We'll be dead and all of our stuff after this.
Yeah.
All my podcasts are going to just explode and I'll never get to see that day.
Well, I mean, like don't rush it or anything. Like you're a pretty cool guy.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't think that's not the plan. I had a whole thing on death too, and it was like really dark and.
Oh yeah, like the perfect thing for me.
It wasn't even really death. I was talking more about like life. Honestly, I was talking more about like how I appreciate life.
Yeah.
Than how much and just how death can be sudden. That was one.
You're definitely like. You got like the right timing for that with
That's
everything that we're dealing
That's
with.
why I
right
brought
now.
it up at that time.
Not to like get all doom and gloomy or anything, but like you just can't escape it.
Sure.
You know?
And that's kind of what brought that point up. I can't remember when I was saying that, but it was a couple episodes ago. Okay, we'd be foolish to be dressed like this and not talk about the Avs.
Oh my god.
We have to. And first off, I gotta say, based on the way the Nuggets played today and the game before, the Avs might be my only hope at this point because I thought the Nuggets were geared up to take home a championship possibly this year, or at least make a run.
Yeah, I
They've
kind of
gotten-
saw it's the Jazz, right?
Yeah, the Jazz are
manhandling
great.
them.
The Jazz are a great team, and we beat them in game one, in overtime, but we beat them, and it was a pretty convincing. We played very well, but these last two games we've just been getting blown out of the water.
Yeah.
I think we lost by like 30 or 40 points, not maybe 40. I don't know. It was like 30 points at least today,
Yeah.
which is insane. And I mean, it's not too late for them. We're only down 2-1. But the way we're losing is the problem.
Like it just looks like. I mean, I you know that I don't know basketball like really really well, but like when I see scores that are like 102 to 136, like I'm like that feels like a blowout to me.
Oh, it is. That's a blowout. But like,
I mean, I'm watching a game where 5-1 is a blowout.
Right.
So when I see somebody winning by 30 points, I'm like,
sure. And that's in basketball. That's a lot. If you lose by 10, that's a pretty significant loss.
Really? That's interesting.
I
It's
mean-
interesting when you have scores of like 100,
Right.
that like
Well,
it's something that's pretty minute comparatively.
A tough
to
loss
a
is if you
blowout.
lose by 3. If you lose by 5, even 5.
Yeah.
If it's once you start getting the 10 range, that means by the end you weren't in it. If it's like anywhere like 6, I'd say is like anywhere past 6, it's kind of it might have been a close game, I guess. Under 10, it might have been a closer game.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you lose by 3 or 5, that's a tough loss. But no, let's shift into hockey though. Something you do know.
Dude,
more
I
about.
always want to talk about hockey.
I know.
You're gonna
And-
spend this whole thing talking about hockey.
Well, and that's
I don't know if your viewers would like that, but I mean, I gotta tell them, like, if you're not watching hockey, it's the coolest sport that you're not watching.
Well, and that's the thing is like I have friends on here. Me and Mac have talked about MMA. Like that's one thing I've been talking a lot about is MMA. But like we talked MMA. Me and Pau talked fantasy sports.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then like Justin, we talked about some basketball and stuff. But those are like my friends that I don't really have a hockey friend who's like I have friends who know hockey and like somewhat listen to hockey and pay attention to hockey, but nobody like you who's like just full-fledged.
I'm the hockey guy.
Yeah, you're invested. You know a lot more about it, so you're the guy to talk about with hockey.
Oh yeah,
and what a blessed time to talk about Avalanche hockey.
I mean, when you think about the fact that 3 years ago we were the worst team since they instated the salary cap, which was like years and years ago. You know, like nobody thought that a team could be as bad as we were. Mm-hmm. You know, it was.
Who'd we get in that draft? Makar?
I think so.
No, that can't be.
No, because he's a rookie. Well, no, it could be because he could have spent. He did spend some time.
He spent one more year, I thought,
because he was in college. Right. He's basically gone from college straight here.
See, I thought we drafted him and then he played one more year college, and then so it wouldn't have been that year.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Which I know is really bad. After
you're good.
Just been like, dude, he's the biggest hockey fan in the world.
No, Jost, we took it.
He was already there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we had that horrible year, and then you would think that would make us the first round draft pick, but no, because they do the same thing that I'm pretty sure basketball does. They have a draft lottery, and every time we have a draft lottery, we always get third. We got third this year, like even though we're good, because when we did the big Matt Duchene trade, that was one of the things that we got from the Senators, that we got their first round draft pick, and then they sucked really bad.
I hate that draft.
And so we had the most likely to have the first pick, but we got third. Same as we did when we were the worst team since the salary
Who'd we get this last year?
We got Bowen Byram. I'm pretty sure is his name. He's with the
developmental.
He's with the affiliate team or the farm team.
Jeez, they draft a lot of players. Oh no, never mind. That's the. How many players do they usually draft?
I mean, I just know they have however many rounds, and they just get one.
They have 7 rounds.
Yeah, that
Dang.
sounds right.
Okay, jeez, we did okay. So
and then you get all the undrafted guys too. You know.
Let's see. We drafted Makar in 17. Would that have been the year? Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
No, that's 4th overall. That was the 4th overall pick.
Oh, okay. That must.
I'm not seeing where we had the 1st overall pick.
We never had the 1st overall pick. It was 3rd. Or was it 4th?
That might have been the year then. Yeah. That was the year we got Makar then.
That's right. Well, I mean, like, the reason why I don't necessarily know all that stuff is because cool. You know, like that was the year that I was kind of just starting to get back into it. You know, like we were working with Brandon, and he was really into the Avs.
He's probably the only other guy that's really into hockey.
Yeah, and that really like helped me get back into it. Like I was into it back when I lived in Cody in 6th grade, and then I kind of fell off of it for a while. And then we had that where we were first in the division, and then we got knocked out of the 1st round by the Wild. You know, and then after that was our big disaster year. You know, and that's like right when I was getting back into it. You know, and when you get into a sport, the first thing that you care about is not the player drafts.
Sure. Well, especially in hockey. Hockey, it's like, it's the developmental. Same with baseball. If you draft a player, unless they're just like the best.
Yeah, unless if they're the Connor McDavid or the Nathan MacKinnon.
By the way, Nathan MacKinnon, playoffs, Nathan MacKinnon right now? I think he's the points leader.
He is the points leader. He's got 13.
I thought it was 16.
It might have been.
I swear I
think it was 13 going into last game.
Because he had
he got 4 points last game.
So he might have 17.
Whatever.
He's definitely the points leader right now.
Dude, like he is a god among men. And
that's only in 5 games.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, actually, it's including the round robin.
Oh, it is? Okay.
But still, I mean, it doesn't change that he's the points leader.
Yeah.
You know, we have other people that are in there. I mean, usually, like, if you're talking about the best player in hockey in the world right now, the conversation always leads to Connor McDavid. And it's not... There's very good reason why it comes to him. Like, he's been the points leader. You know, he's been in the top 5 for points, like, just consistently throughout... like the past 2 seasons, you know, and then he's got a really, really good line mate in Leon Draisaitl, and I mean the dude is amazing when he gets out onto the ice. He dominates You know, I mean, basically, whatever's happening on the ice, that's where Connor McDavid is, and he's the one who is dictating it. But he's not the points leader right now.
Right.
You know, and nobody's talking about him. I saw a thing on, just a whatever news article about the playoffs from NBCSN, which holds hockey right now. And it was just about the playoffs. It wasn't about any team in particular. And it showed a picture of one single player walking down walking through the tunnel. And that player was, of course, Nathan MacKinnon. And, Google knows that I'm the biggest Avs fan in like a tri-state area. And so they recommend all kinds of Avs articles to me. But, I like, just since the playoffs have started, I've been seeing tons of articles that are saying, this is why Nathan MacKinnon is the best player in the world right now. And previously they were saying he was one of the best. This is his year. He is coming.
So, here's my question then. Do you think he has a chance to win the MVP? Like a realistic chance, not based on bias.
Yeah, no, okay. So predicting that in hockey is really, really difficult. Because you can have somebody who is obviously the best player, but if he's got really, really good line mates, I just talked about Connor McDavid, he was the points leader, so you would think like, well, he'd be the MVP, right? Like, he was the best, he scored the most, but I just said also that he had a really, really good line mate in Leon Draisaitl. And when they choose an MVP, they usually try to pick somebody who doesn't have the best support.
At the same time, though, if everyone's like so universally in the hockey world knows Nathan MacKinnon is just so good, and like take out, even in the regular season he was killing it.
Yeah.
And then you put in the round robin and all that, and I don't know how much playoffs has anything to do with the choice. I gotta assume the Oilers not making the playoffs,
you would think would have an effect.
Sure.
Yeah. No, and I think that it probably does. I think that they base it, just from what I feel like, it feels like they base it a little bit more on the regular season than on the playoffs. But if you don't make the playoffs, or you make it in just as a wild card.
Well, there's no way a team, a player on the 30th best team is winning the MVP. There's no way.
Yeah, no, it's noticed.
Yeah. You've got to be on one of the best teams.
I mean, everybody is talking about Nathan MacKinnon right now. Nathan MacKinnon is the talk of the league.
So you would say he has a chance.
I would say that I'm gonna say the way that I felt last year, and it may be a little bit biased, and I'm not even gonna try to hide from that fact, but they could say whoever it is, but it's pretty clear, based on just the amount of attention that he's getting, the way that he plays on the ice, that he is the most valuable player.
I would agree 100%. Who won it last year?
Taylor Hall.
He won it last year?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
on the Coyotes?
Or
was he?
I think he was with the Devils still.
Okay.
Pretty confident.
Okay.
Yeah. No. And I'm not gonna.
And they just beat him
handily.
Yeah.
He had one goal against us. It was an empty netter.
I mean, granted, he's on a lesser team, but I mean the Devils didn't even make the playoffs this year.
When you're on a team, and that kind of is a showcase of why they talked about it being Taylor Hall, right? Because with Taylor Hall, they were pretty good. Without Taylor Hall, who are they?
Yeah.
They're nobody. But
and the shutting down of Taylor Hall doesn't fall on MacKinnon, but it falls on the team being a good defensive team.
But the thing is that we could shut down Taylor Hall. Yeah. The Coyotes could not shut down Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, even the times that he didn't get a goal. I mean, you could look. I mean, last game,
and you were saying that goalie is really good.
Darcy Kemper was incredible. I mean, I don't think that he's going to be with the Coyotes next year. Because he's going to want to do more. I'm not sure about his contract status, but
I wonder which goalie is going to get taken by the Kraken.
If I had to guess, because they're only going to take 3. They can only take 3,
right?
Basically, the draft stuff is really weird. Did you know that the Knights don't have to give up anybody
Because they were recent.
Because they were recent, and because it's just built for them to take 30 players, so they just decided not the Knights.
That makes sense.
I'm not crazy about it because, like, right now they are the best team in the league. They are considered. I mean, they're not. These guys are.
Yeah.
But what I meant to say is that they're
a top team.
They're like if you look at the odds and everything,
sure.
They're the most likely to win based on the book
Vegas odds. Yeah.
You know, they have the best odds.
Shocking. Vegas odds makers have Vegas winning the
yeah.
cup, but no, they are a good team, and you would think, yeah, okay, maybe they should have to surrender some stuff, but I also get, they're still a new team that's trying to build, even though obviously they're built.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It is
because they only take one player, right?
They take one player from each team.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were gonna say the goalie.
So for the goalies, I mean, it's hard because there's just so many people that are so good, and it's hard when you've been watching for a few years because you're seeing goalies that you used to be like, man, Robin Lehner is so good, and now he's a backup goalie. What happened? It's really weird. But I was actually talking with my family about this today, and I only really have one prediction in regards to the goalie. And what I think it's going to be is that the Blues have two really good goalies. They have their main guy is Jordan Binnington, and they've kind of been going with him, and he's been doing pretty well. But if you're paying attention to the playoffs at all, you notice that up until these last couple of wins that they just had, they went like 6 games without a single win. They didn't win a single game in the round robin, and then they lost their first 2 games against the Canucks, which is a wild card. And they were the top of our division.
Yeah, and now they're down now too, aren't they?
Or
they tied up.
They tied it up, and I think they just won, so I think they're now up 3-2.
Ooh.
And they're playing tonight.
Okay.
I'm stoked. What they did is they changed for their goalie from Jordan Binnington to Jake Allen, who's their backup, and Jake Allen is really, really good. So that to me makes me think that, they can only protect one. Every team can only protect one goalie.
Sure.
I could see one of those two being on the Seattle Kraken next year.
Okay.
I'm no professional on that stuff. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I'm guessing.
We were talking about trying to
rewind a little bit. We were talking about the Avs, and we were talking about Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah.
God among men.
I was going to ask about Jared Bednar. You got to give him some credit for this build.
You have to give him credit. My mom
and Joe
doesn't
Sakic.
Because she's not happy with him. Oh, yeah. No, Joe Sakic, everybody thought he was a joke, and a lot of it came down to the Matt Duchene trade because it took so long for it to finally happen that everybody was just being like, he's just waiting it out until his value just goes down, and then we're just going to get nothing for him. And then we got the trade, and it felt really weird. It was this 3-part trade where Duchene went to Nashville, and some dudes from Nashville went to the Senators, and then we got somebody from Nashville, and we got some stuff from the Senators, and it was all just very strange looking. But look at where we're at now. Matt Duchene is, he went to the Senators. He didn't go to Nashville. I got confused because that's where he's at now. And so look at that. Here, the big thing that we got was that we got Sam Girard
and also essentially Cale Makar.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff. So
no. We got Cale Makar.
Not Cale Makar, but I think that was Tynum that we got. Which he's coming,
right?
But we got Sam Girard, and that's our biggest thing that we got out of that whole trade. And look at him, he's amazing.
He's a starting liner, isn't he?
Yeah, we're gonna be protecting him. He's on the same line as Cale Makar, and
that's what I'm worried about. They're definitely not taking a goalie of ours because they're going to take one of our players.
They're not going to take one of our goalies. I love our goalies and everything. But
can you choose to not save a goalie?
No, you have to save one goalie. So you can either save a goalie and then 8 skaters of basically however you want to mix it up, or goalie, 7 forwards, 3 defensemen. So it really just depends on how your team is built, which one you want to take.
You gotta save just one goalie and save as many skaters.
Well, as you can. No. It's one goalie either way.
Okay, who are we saving?
I was actually talking about this today.
If it's you.
If it's me, if it's me, Like, I want to save Gabriel Landeskog because he's our captain and everything. But I don't know if they... Actually, you know what? I take that back.
They would
Of
sooner
course
trade
they will.
him.
They're going to keep him because they can get some value.
They would sooner
And what
trade him.
I guess what I was starting to get on there was that I don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. I mean, break my heart, but, you know, it is what it is. We're keeping Nathan McKinnon, obviously. We're keeping Mikko Rantanen, of course. We're keeping Sam Girard, and we're keeping Cale Makar. Those are the four that I know for sure. Outside of those, I mean, we got one more defenseman that we can take.
Just one more?
Yeah, because we have Cale Makar and
I would say they're
Sam
not going to
Girard.
save EJ.
They're not. Yeah, they're not going to do Eric Johnson. Actually, I take that back. He has a no movement clause. They have to.
Are you serious?
Yep. No movement clauses means that they have to be protected and they count. But I was wrong about something. They're not going to protect Cale Makar because from what I was reading today, if you have a first or second year player, then they don't need to be protected and they're protected from being selected.
So that includes Rantanen too, right?
No, Rantanen's been for a while.
Oh, has he?
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So they won't have to save Makar.
Yeah, they won't have to save Makar, and I think that's the only person really that we have protected from that, because everybody else is, I mean, they're young, but they're not that young.
Okay.
You know?
Okay,
it
so...
kind of protects, like, farm players and stuff,
so
too.
so you said...
You know, if it's not Cale Makar, it's going to be...
Johnson...
Yeah, it's going to be Johnson, Girard.
Maybe Zads?
I would love for it to be Zadorov, because I love the guy. I mean, he's a huge dude that, like, when somebody messes with our guys, like, he just comes up and he just dumps a guy. You know, like, you see a lot of guys that come up and fight. You don't see too many people that just dump a guy, you know. But his problem is that he takes so many penalties, and they're unjust penalties. He gets penalties for just being too big. I mean, like, if he brushes past you and your body's touched, like, you're going to be flying into the next county. And so he gets in trouble all the time because he hits people too hard.
Okay. Who's our other defenseman?
Well, we have Ian Cole, which, I mean, I don't hate that as a pick.
Matt Calvert?
Calvert's a forward.
Oh, okay.
So just so that I don't get confused. So we got Girard, Makar, Cole, Johnson. I said Cole?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so
Should just
Ryan Graves and... Of course, I'm going to blank on it now.
Yeah, it's all good.
There's just...
I would assume...
You know how it goes.
When
Zadorov.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume when it comes to the saving of players, there's some kind of strategy, like... we can say...
going to take?
Yeah. We can save these three guys knowing they probably won't take that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like... we have Valerie Nichushkin, and dude has just been phenomenal with us. Scored a bunch of goals, was amazing, but we got him from another team, and previous to that, he hadn't scored for like 2 years. Not a single goal. You know, I mean, like, the dude was just snake bit as it gets, and then he came with us, and he was amazing. So then you think to yourself...
Is he on our team now?
Yeah. Nichushkin is still with us.
Okay.
Yeah, he's great.
You know who I've been impressed with?
Nazem Kadri.
Uh-huh.
Dude, Nazem Kadri is an amazing player, and the reason why maybe we didn't necessarily think about it too much before was because he got kicked out of the playoffs last year with the Maple Leafs, and he got kicked out of the playoffs because he made a dirty play. And, you know, it's kind of like...
Stuff happens.
You know, things happen. And we thought about that coming in. We were like, dude, this is amazing. It's who we lost Tyson Barrie for.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we were just kind of like, look, this is amazing if he can keep his nose clean. And he has kept his nose clean. You'll see several times where he's going to go hit a guy, and as soon as he thinks the guy is going to turn and it's going to turn into a board or whatever, he'll make sure and not finish his check, which is what you're supposed to do. He's doing really, really good with keeping his nose clean.
You could probably chalk that up to coaching.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps. Discipline.
Or
you
that.
know? I mean, he wants to be there.
Sure. And discipline comes with coaching, too.
He recognizes that we can win the cup this year, but Nazem Kadri is somebody who I mean, he's really, really good anytime, but he really heats up in the postseason, and that's what we're seeing right here. I mean, the dude is nuts. He's scored like 4 goals in the past 2 games. I mean, he was on hat trick watch for the past 2
He would have
games.
been the first star if it weren't for McKinnon in that last game.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
It's crazy.
Who are the forwards that we save?
So there's 7 of them. So here's what I'm saying, and some of them is going to be because, like, even if maybe we're thinking about trading somebody, like say Landeskog, for example,
Sure.
I don't want it to happen, but I've seen rumors on Reddit, I've seen them online. He's always being rumored about, but like let's just say that we're actually thinking about trading him. We're still going to protect him, because if we don't, they're obviously going to take him, and then we're just losing a guy for nothing.
Yeah.
So we're going to protect him. We're going to protect Ranson, and we're going to protect Nathan McKinnon, because those guys are like our bomb core.
Yes.
Just, I mean,
Top
superstars.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna protect Kadri. We're gonna protect Burakovsky,
Okay.
because he's been really good.
Okay.
That's 5. We're gonna protect. I could see us protecting Nichushkin. I was saying the stuff about Nichushkin because I was thinking maybe the Kraken don't want him, because yeah, sure, he was great with us, but look at where he was at when he wasn't with us. Do we really want to bring him here and see if he's still gonna be hot? It's a risk.
But that's maybe a chance not to save him.
It might be a risk that they're willing to take. I mean, you look at some of the guys that went to Vegas that were like, yeah, they were pretty good, but then they went to Vegas and they were superstars like James Neal. James Neal was good, but he was amazing.
Okay.
So maybe somebody like Valery Nichushkin would be somebody that would be like an obvious pickup for.
So who else is
just to
on
hope for
the
that.
radar?
Eunice Donskoy.
Okay.
I would really like for him to stay.
Okay, so that would be 7.
Yeah, so that'd be our 7. But
If you had a wild card 8.
who am I trying to think of? There's somebody that there's some big dude that I'm missing. Like somebody that I'm gonna be embarrassed about when I look, but I don't want to miss it. So let me grab my.
Now, can the Avs trade Landeskog before the draft?
I'm not sure. I think the draft happens like so fast after the playoffs that we're not even gonna have time to make a deal, to make a proper deal, even if we can.
Gotcha.
Let me pull up my app here, because I know I'm missing somebody, and I'm gonna feel stupid as soon as I see who it is. But I'm only human.
No, my name is human.
Dude, have you heard the song "Hero" by Weezer?
No.
Oh, it's so good.
Really?
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
it's a banger. I mean, you got like Comfer, because who did I say? Ransonen, Burakovsky, Landeskog, Kadri, McKinnon,
Donskoy and Nichushkin.
Donskoy, and Nichushkin. So I mean, we got Calvert, Jost, Comfer, Belmar. I think out of all of those guys, I mean, I really like Calvert, man. He's a warrior. He doesn't let
It just
people mess around.
it seems
with
like the
us.
guys we've brought in, either through trade or draft, in the last 3 years have just been really good moves.
Dude, one of our problems that you could even say last year we got to the second round of the playoffs. We were really, really good. Even though, I mean, we were good. We weren't as good as we are now, but we were pretty good. But our biggest problem was that, I mean, we had the 9 line, which was, of course, number 96, Mikko Ransonen, number 29, Nathan McKinnon, and 92, Gabriel Landeskog. And that line was incredible. They were the best line in hockey through several parts of the season. But we really didn't have anything else. So once teams figured out to kind of shut down the 9 line, then we either had to mix them up and just have, Rance and Mac on a line and Landy on a different line, or whatever, just to try to get some depth going. It just, I mean, we would just get shut down. We would either do that or we just had nothing. But this year we don't have that. You're watching Kadri and Comfer and, I mean, even Nieto is, even if he's not necessarily scoring, he's contributing. Everybody is contributing. We've got depth,
Right.
Even if we don't have the 9 line, which they're not keeping the 9 line together all the time.
Sure.
They will if we're in dire straits. But, but even if we don't have Mac and Ransonen out, we've got somebody else out that's a threat. No matter what line we've got out, we might score.
See, that's how I felt about the Nuggets. The depth was our big thing, and then the problem the Nuggets are having right now is defense.
Oh, yeah.
And we have two of our...
I mean, I guess if you're giving up like 140 points a game, you can't say anything else.
And we have two guys that are out that are both really good defenders.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, it is what it is. We still should be beating these guys. And it's not too late. Avs play the Stars next.
Tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 6.
I'm going to have to miss that.
You know, and
that's when my show is.
I might end up having to miss it, too, because it's when I hang out with my lady.
Oh. What...
The things we do for love.
What's your thoughts on that matchup?
Well, I've told you several times that we're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yes, of course.
So, what does that say for how we're going to do against the Stars?
Prediction.
Okay, actually, like my hubris aside, it's definitely a lot more threatening than the Coyotes. And a lot of it has to, I mean, they have really, really good players. But what it really comes down to is that they've got amazing goaltenders. They've been going with Khudobin, and I haven't been like super up on how the Stars have been doing, but I'm surprised to be seeing Khudobin so much because they have Ben Bishop on their team. Mm-hmm. And Ben Bishop is like, he is a walrus, dude. Like, he's just massive, you know, like he's a house. It's almost unfair. The dude is like, 9 feet tall and 9 feet wide. I mean, I don't know how many other ways I can tell you that he's a big guy. He's just a tsunami, a man-made tsunami. He's made out of man, and he's a tsunami.
Okay. He's an ocean of man.
Yeah. I mean, how weird can we make this? But I think that's going to make it really tough. The Stars shredded us in the regular season every time we played with them.
But this isn't
played
the
against them.
Season.
We beat them, and that's the thing. This is the playoffs. It's a whole different story.
And we're hot.
Yeah, we're super hot, and they're really. I mean, they're doing okay, but they're not doing it like we are.
They're not doing 7-1.
We're coming off 2 7-1 performances. We've scored 14 goals. We've scored 14 goals, and we've given up 2 in the past 2 games. Nobody can say that. We're the highest scoring team in the playoffs. We're firing on every cylinder. Our defense is good. Our goaltending is pretty good, and our offense is off the fucking chain.
What did the Stars win their series in?
They won it in
5.
I don't want to misquote myself here.
No, I think it was
4-2. So they won it in 6. That's right, because they were playing the Flames. The Flames are kind of a dirty team.
I hate them.
Yeah, I wasn't too particularly uncomfortable with the idea of playing them outside of the fact that they got Matthew Tkachuk on their team, and he's a big piece of their team. He's one of the biggest reasons why the Stars just all of a sudden rolled him over, because he didn't play the last few games, and they missed him really bad. But if your team is built around somebody like that, like, maybe it's time to start rebuilding your team. The dude is... He just plays dirty.
Gotcha.
He's no Tom Wilson. No offense or anything to any Caps fans, but just reputation-wise. But he's just... The dude makes dirty hits and makes dirty plays, and you get frustrated, And so it's like, I didn't really want to play against them because I was afraid that maybe one of our guys would get hurt. But I mean, we slapped them up pretty good last year. I wasn't really concerned with losing against them. I was more concerned with losing players against them. They hurt a couple of the guys on the Stars, at least one that I know of. And he's back, he's fine and everything, but just when you see that kind of stuff happening, you just kind of go,
Right. I gotcha.
But yeah, it's nice to see this. It is nice to see the Flames gone. If the Flames had won, we would be playing them next.
It's just nice to see the Avs doing good, man. Like, I'm glad between my two teams in the playoffs right now, at least one of them is kicking ass. And like I said, it's not too late for the Nuggets. They can maybe turn it around. Mm-hmm. It just looks rough right now.
Yeah.
Avs, on the other hand, second round, let's get it.
I think we got the Stars. I really do.
I do too.
I think that it's going to be tougher because they've got really good goaltending. They got really good players. You could say the same thing for the Coyotes, especially when it comes to goaltending with Darcy Kemper. But there were so many plays. There were so many, like, especially as the series went on, there were so many plays where I was like, dude, the Coyotes they cannot handle us.
Yeah.
That last game, it was just so obvious that, like, they're a good team, but they're just not where we are at. They are rebuilding. We are not. We are there. You know, and anytime you were just watching it, you were just looking at it, just trying to think, okay, look, is this two equal teams? The answer was no.
Right.
Not. You know. So, oh yeah, man.
Gotcha.
The Stars will give us a little bit more of a fight, but we can take them.
All right. Enough hockey talk. As much as I love talking
There's
hockey.
never enough hockey talk.
Dude, you should make it your own podcast and call it Hockey Talk.
Hockey talk.
That's a good name.
This is the Hockey Talk walkie-talkie.
Yeah, Hockey Talk on walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
And just have your podcast like
Yeah.
from two different rooms.
I'll be talking to my friend Saki, and then it'll just be like a sock puppet with my own voice.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do voices,
Yeah.
but
Not
Not
as
for Saki.
not as good as my Alan Rickman.
do it.
Remember?
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're just like, I'm Severus Snape. Wait a minute, that wasn't very good.
I told that on one of the episodes.
I was thinking about impressions when you said the thing about, like, the bookkeeping in Vegas, saying that Vegas was really good, and I just wanted to be like, alright, welcome back to InfoWars, I'm Alex Jones, and I'm going to tell you about how Las Vegas is controlling your mind.
Yeah. I just like when Alex Jones is like, God.
Turn the freaking
yeah.
frogs gay!
Yeah,
It's
you
a banger,
love that.
dude.
I showed you that one, the ramp song. I was looking at my weird. I have a list of weird questions,
Weird questions.
and I don't know if any of these pertain. This isn't a weird question. No, I'm not gonna do that one. I don't have a good one off the top of my head. I asked you the really weird one.
Which
I
one?
might as well just ask it again for the sake
Okay.
of the podcast. Would you rather sit on a cake and eat a
God.
dick, or sit on a dick and eat a cake?
I mean, my answer hasn't changed, dude. Like, I don't want I don't want a penis in my butt
I agree.
ever.
Yeah.
So it's not really about saying
What
that I
you
would
want.
rather have one of those
Yeah.
things, but I'm going to tell you which one I'd
The
rather
lesser-
not have.
A lesser of two evils. Okay. I want to get your reaction on something. I got a video that I want to show you, and
Okay.
I just want you to give me your. It's not a long video. It's only like maybe 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I've shown you this yet. I really hope I haven't. There's a good chance I might have.
Well, you know, I was a theater kid. Like, I can probably just pretend that I haven't seen it if I have.
I really hope you haven't. Just so, and if you haven't,
Yeah. Is it something that you can't tell me the title of, or?
I just want you to see it.
Okay.
So
I'm down.
I just know I've shown this to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I may have shown you this. It won't be available on the podcast, so you won't be able to see this. I'll let you know what the name of the video is after, so that everybody can go watch it. But yeah, let's take a look at this,
All right.
and we'll get your reaction. If this will upload. Nope, that's not.
Listen, dork! Don't put your trash on my door!
Have you seen this?
Hear me?
I don't think so.
25
Oh my god.
cents.
What?
25 cents is all it takes, Kevin.
For what? Another one of your loser projects?
No. To see God. Have you ever wanted to see something
Oh
so
my
beautiful,
god.
so unattainable?
Where's Johnny?
He's witnessing perfection.
What do you mean? Matter of fact, where is everyone today?
They are all a part of something far greater. They have seen something so pure that their hearts can no longer turn back. And it's right behind that door.
Watch the way his arm moves here.
Whatever, dork, just take it and leave me alone.
Oh my god. Jesus. Oh my god, my body can't handle this. Nor can my mind.
Now, who wants a jawbreaker?
So, that video is called Jawbreaker for anybody who wants to go look at it by Meat Canyon. So,
Alright, well, I mean, I didn't need to sleep for the next week. No, it was fucking spooky, man.
I thought it was spooky, but I think it's funny. Like,
No, it is funny.
I just like the artwork of it is what's. He's got a ton of them. Like, that guy makes a ton of videos, and some of them are really, really not good, and some of them are just hilarious. That's his most popular one.
Yeah.
And I just love 25 cents. 25 cents is all it takes.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Just behind that door.
the voice is
It's
what
so good.
the voice is what makes it funny too.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of how most of those videos are. Is like there's a few characters that are just like weird looking. You'll have to look. You'll go down a rabbit hole with that one.
Yeah.
But
I do that kind of shit to my girlfriend all the time, you know, like I'll just be like, you need to come and see this. Your life will be changed forever. Come and look. Look at what I have found for you.
yeah,
And she's just like, stop. And you know, like, that's a reasonable reaction.
yeah. No, I didn't know how you'd respond to that, but I love that.
I mean, I think I felt like my entire brain, like, melt and reconstitute.
Well, it's like
In the best of ways.
it's a childhood show
yeah,
we
no.
enjoyed.
Yeah, like, my nostalgia is destroyed.
Yeah, right. What's our timestamp? I think that's probably. We're getting close.
Getting close.
Unless there's anything.
Is it time for, like, shameless plug time where I can just be like, go watch the Steven Seagal JonTron video. It's so good. And also, if you haven't heard the song Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, go listen to it.
There you go.
Do
Yeah.
this for yourself.
Couple shout outs there.
I mean, it's not like it's anything that people haven't heard about.
I saw the Steven Seagal video.
Dude, it's the best JonTron video.
It's hilarious.
I mean, I don't know. Like, old JonTron was really good, but man.
Right. I love.
It's
Steven Seagal really is a piece of shit.
crazy.
He's a crazy man.
I love just like, yeah, that guy can really put lead on target, and then he's like, lead on top. Fucking come on, man.
Anything else you want to put out, or anything else you want to say or talk about?
I mean, I'm not actually plugging any.
No, I know,
of
but
those
I'm just
things,
saying
You know,
we-
I just really like JonTron.
we're not.
videos.
I mean, we can go another couple minutes if you want, but
I mean, yeah, we can talk about anything.
any video games you're playing?
You know, I actually haven't been playing as many video games as
Me
I
too.
used to.
Me too.
I don't know if it's just like a growing up thing and just, or if maybe I'm just not finding anything that's like really capturing my interest. I am playing The Witcher 3 right now, just because like I tried to play several other games and they just weren't capturing my interest like they used to. And
That's my problem. Is I can't find anything that's just like.
yeah, like, I mean, I can
Takes
play
me.
something and I can enjoy it.
Sure.
But, like, I used to be able to, like, play a game and then I'd go to work and I'd think about it.
Yeah.
And then I would, like, you know, like, basically, like...
binge it essentially.
Like, don't you remember when I played Super Mario Galaxy for the first time? Like, I literally was doing two things in my life during the time that I played Super Mario Galaxy. And those two things were, I was playing Super Mario Galaxy, or I was thinking about playing Super Mario Galaxy. And there was nothing else. I mean, like, I was drawing pictures of the characters in my notebooks at school, and just, I mean, and, like... That sounds super nerdy, but man, like, I miss those days. That
Right.
felt so good to just be into something
I
like
agree.
that, you know? No, I've been playing The Witcher 3, and I haven't played it before, even though, like, it's, you know, I've been really interested in it. I mean, you can't talk about RPGs or open world games without talking about this game. Like, it's considered to be, if not, like, the best game ever, like, easily one of the best games ever, you know? It really built on the Skyrim formula, Which, I mean, Skyrim wasn't the first of its type, but, I mean, it really popularized that kind of thing. But it really built on it, and I mean, it just did so many good things with it. And I mean, it comes from a Polish series of novels, The Witcher. And so, like, it had a very established world, and so it was very easy to make a game that's so involved. And so I've been playing that. I mean, there's nothing that I can say about The Witcher 3 that hasn't been said before. It's an older game. It's an amazing game. If anybody likes fantasy stuff or they like RPGs, like, obviously they should play this game, and nobody needs me to tell them that.
You want to tell the Yoshi story?
The Yoshi story?
Yeah.
The one where I was 5 years old and I was playing Yoshi's Story, which, like, it used to be the greatest game ever. It's not as good as I remember it, but I mean, obviously you know that I did think that it was an amazing game because I decided that I didn't need to go pee. I just needed to keep playing Yoshi's Story. But I still went pee. Where I was sitting, playing Yoshi's Story.
On the couch, right?
That's on the couch. It's not a proud story for a 5-year-old.
I mean, you're 5. I just think it's so funny.
That's how the
That's
how the N64 went back to my mom's boyfriend's house. You
Yeah.
know?
it's so funny for me to put.
It's not my best story.
Oh, I'm sure not.
No, my best story is the one where I was walking with my second grade class outside my elementary school, and the class was walking on the sidewalk, and one guy was walking on the grass. His name was Paul, and he was walking on the grass.
I know this.
And I came up to him, and I said, and you guys are gonna love this. If you have any like older anime fans, they're gonna love this. But he's walking on the grass, and I'm like, yo, Paul, like, you can't be walking on the grass. You gotta walk on the sidewalk. And he's like, I don't care. And I'm like, dude, like, the teacher told us that we cannot walk on the grass. You gotta walk on the sidewalk. And he was like, dude, what are you gonna do about it? And I looked at him dead in the eyes, and I said, can they see? I went, in the name of the moon, I'll punish you.
Oh my god.
And for those of you that don't know what that is, I'm sure that you have heard of the anime Sailor Moon, which is basically, I mean, it is the magical girl anime
Yeah.
that stars girls that do girl things. And that was me, who was a boy. I've always been one.
Doing that.
Doing this, I mean, I'm telling them, I'm doing the pose, I'm doing the anime poses, and I'm like, I'll punish you. And, like, I realized that it was stupid.
Yeah.
I did. But, you know, like, you get far enough into something and you can't just be like, in the name of the moon. Oh, wait a minute, dude. Like, that's really stupid. What am I thinking? You know, so you get to a point where you're just like, well,
Gotta commit.
like, I'm committed to it, so I might as well just finish it off. And so I finished it off, and I looked at him. And, like, you know, I'm sure if you're a third party, like, you could just see it on my face where I'm just like,
Please.
all right, dude.
You're like, please get back on the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
like, just, we don't, like, I don't need to speak of this. Like, I won't tell the teacher if you're on the grass. Like, just don't tell anyone that this happened. But he didn't ruin me. He could have. He could have ended my whole career.
What do you do?
know? He just kind of went, punish me? You know, but, like, in a way that he was just like, really? How?
I would have said.
Would you?
You know what I would have said? You know what my response
What?
was? I would have said, in the name of the moon.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, yeah, I'm committed. I might as well just double down and be like, dude, you see that right there? That is the moon. It looks tiny. It's huge.
And in his name,
Yeah.
I will punish.
Yeah, there will be punishment.
No, it would have been great
Punishment.
is if the guy was like, okay,
Yeah.
man.
Whoa,
Yeah.
dude, like, just a little bit of grass.
I'll get on the sidewalk, dude. I didn't know you were that serious.
Yeah.
I was. You know what's funny is I have a funny. I might have told. I'm sure I told you this.
Is it this one?
Yes.
It makes you run fast.
Yeah. I was playing soccer, and this is funny because I just started watching Dragon Ball Z again, and of course, okay. You know what I noticed? Okay, what's our one gripe about Gohan?
Is that he's a wuss?
Yes, and that he cries all the time.
All the time.
First thing in episode 1,
I was watching it with my girlfriend.
first ever sighting of Gohan is him crying in the woods. When I saw that, I was like, as many times as I've seen it, you don't remember the first episode like in that many episodes. That's not the first thing that.
Yeah,
but I know
we've
talked in length about Gohan's pussiness, and seeing that I was like, oh my god, that's the first thing he does. Anyway, of course he does
the perfect intro.
Of course he does the run in the and yeah. And so
this isn't as bad.
Right, but that's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about this even just last night. We were playing soccer I must have been like second grade, and everyone's doing their thing, and I am doing the Naruto run, the arms behind, if you don't know.
Are you doing them like where it's like on your back?
No, I did them. I did it like that.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I'm running, and one of my best friends goes, "Why are you doing that?" And I go, "It makes you run faster." Like as if it's a fact. I'm like, "It makes you run faster," and he goes, "Oh," like he says, "Oh," like it's.
Yeah, like he's just kind of like, huh.
Like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, good.
I mean, I'm not going to try it because you look like an idiot.
But even though I knew that made me run faster, him questioning me made me not do it anymore.
Oh,
which, thank God.
I mean, that's probably a good thing, but, sometimes you just got to be yourself. I mean, I think about the fact that I did the whole pose, and, like, now, like, yeah, there was a time where I was probably kind of embarrassed about that, but, like, now I'm just like, dude, I was such a cool kid, like, I really committed to that, like, I liked Sailor Moon. I still like Sailor Moon. It's amazing.
I've told embarrassing stories on here, and it's so fun.
Yeah,
it's fairly therapeutic.
Well, I mean, especially when it's things like that. Like, can you really be upset with yourself? I mean,
I think what it is you just remember how you felt in that moment, and that's what it's like. It's like residual embarrassment that you feel. Mm-hmm. You're not really still embarrassed about it.
Yeah,
but it's like it's just that residual embarrassment that you felt at that time.
Like I have plenty of like cringeworthy stories that don't have that effect, where you're just like, actually, that's really cool. Like if you said something that hurt somebody else, or even if you like did something and somebody misconstrued it, and then you had to explain yourself, like even just knowing that there was any amount of time where they thought that you meant the other thing, like it can just be soul crushing. Like I've said things to people that I didn't mean to hurt them with,
sure, but
then it did, and then I have to like be like, wait, like no, that's not what I meant. Like I really meant this, and then like even once they're like, oh, okay, like you still just know that there was that time that they thought that you meant the other thing.
Sure.
And you can't change that. Even though it's better, it still was that way.
At one point, yeah.
And then you have things that just kind of eat you up. Like one time I was, I'm a little kid in the store and I'm crying and because I'm sad or whatever, and my mom wants to fix it, and so she takes a pen and she draws a little smiley face on my finger, like thinking that it's going to cheer me up. It's like this cute little token, but it made me more upset. Then I was like, take it off. I was like, take this off. Like, ugh,
why have you drawn me?
Yeah. Like now I'm angry and dirty.
Yeah.
And then it's like you just get this imagination. You get this thing in your mind where like my mom is just like, oh, well, I tried to cheer him up. I thought that'd be cool, but I guess I just made it worse. She's not like that. Like my mom's fine. She's like, that she's actually just kind of like, oh, well, I gave it a shot.
That
but
didn't
like,
work.
like even now, like it just like I think like just like a few years ago, I was just like, Mom, remember that time that you drew a smiley face on my finger and it made me more upset? I'm really sorry about that. And she's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right. Then she doesn't remember.
And I'm
you
like,
feel like some guilt still, though.
Like I'm like, no, like this is crushing my soul. Like you have to remember so that it can be absolved.
I need to be cured of my sins.
Yeah.
Absolved of my sins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, we could tell stories all day. But
I still haven't told my best. My best is the one where my great-great-uncle got axe murdered by a mail-order bride. But that's a story for a different day.
Well, I was going to say...
don't want to hear about that.
I was going to say, we have tons of stories we can tell. We are getting toward the ends here, though. We should wrap it up. But definitely should have you back on, because I know... I can think of 100 stories that we haven't told that need to be told. And different topics that we didn't even touch on.
Oh, yeah.
But we will save that for another time. Also, just real quick, wanted to mention, this is episode 11. Specifically had you on for episode 11. Why?
Because 11 is my favorite number.
and 3 is mine. I did a whole thing on 3. The third episode, I talked about how 3 was my lucky number, and I knew once 11 was coming up, I was like, I gotta have
me.
Yeah. And we have a whole thing with...
I mean, it's insane. Like, you were born in County 3 in Montana. I was born in County 11 in Wyoming. I mean, I could go into it, man.
We have...
You know?
There's a lot of 3s and 11 like, weird things that we both had, so...
Yeah.
It was just too fitting that we had to have you on for 11.
Right.
I say we, like there's anybody else here.
Dude, like you and the crew.
Yeah.
I know they can't see him from here, but all around
We got
back
Miles
there,
over here.
Yeah. What's up, Miles?
We got Buck.
Yeah. Do you want me to, like, do voices for him? Be like, yo, what's up, Miles? Hey, what up?
Yeah, that was not obvious at all.
Oh, I gotta, like, come back and be like, oh, what up? Oh, man, this is really good water. What is this? It's the Albertsons off-brand. Oh, it's my favorite.
So good.
Quality stuff.
Yeah.
Ingredients, just go to your tap.
Might as well be San Pellegrino. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks to everybody for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Come see Cutthroat tomorrow, or I guess once this uploads, come see us tonight. Tap in. We go on at 6. And pressure this guy for the book. We need to get that thing published and read. So get some public pressure out there for him to write that book and finish it up. Thank you all for watching. And don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.